Let's talk about that example. So can you tell us a little bit about Plastic Bank and walk us through how Plastic Bank applied the five rules?
Okay, so I think this is my all-time favorite blockchain network, which is kind of embarrassing because I've never worked on it. I've only been watching it from the outside, but this started out live in the IBM garage in Montpellier. I'm kind of guessing about 3 years ago, and I've been following it ever since. But anyway, so let me walk you through the problem that this network is trying to fix. So there are two founding fathers, David and Sean, but David Katz was off scuba diving, I believe, a few years ago, and he was just alarmed at the amount of plastic he could see in the water around him. And he said, look, I'm going to do something about this. And if you kind of research, where does all this plastic come from? You might be surprised to know that the majority of that plastic comes down a relatively limited number of rivers, I think it's about 7 or 8, tends to be in developing and emerging markets, gets collected on beaches and then flows into the sea. So what David and Sean set out to do, working with the garage in Montpellier and a business partner called Cognition Foundry, was this, well, okay, how can we design a business model to change the behavior of the folks who are living near to the beaches and near to these rivers to turn them into recycling entrepreneurs. And David is really keen on a for-profit motive here. So the Plastic Bank is a for-profit company. It's actually quite centralized. And he's looking to basically monetize waste plastic and turn it into currency. That's the model. So the idea is that you have various collection points on beaches or near rivers. And I think the Plastic Bank is now in about 4 or 5 locations around the world. Where the idea is these collection centres are going to recruit recycling entrepreneurs who will take the collection bags and collect plastic and bring it back to the centre. Now, how are you going to pay these folks? Now, you could pay them in cash, but the problem here is, well, there's 2 problems here. First of all, they could get robbed because they're living in reasonably dangerous locations. And secondly, what we're looking to do here is we're looking to sell this plastic to leading consumer packaged goods and leading retailers to then enhance their brand to then sell as social plastic. So, for example, here in the UK, you can go to Marks and Sparks and you can get a shopping bag, a plastic shopping bag, which is made out of these recycled plastic pellets from these plastic bottles. Or you can go to Germany, you can buy a bottle of shampoo produced by Heinkel, which again is social plastic. So, Marks and Spencer, Heinkel, the other folks in the ecosystem, they are willing to pay more for social plastic. Well, they need to know 2 things. They need to know, can you prove to me the provenance of this plastic, so it's come from that beach or that beach? But also, and this is more subtle, where has this extra money gone? Because if you look at the way that these types of ambitions have worked in the past, very often the money has ended up in the wrong hands. So how do we make sure that the money ends up in the right hands?
So, like for example, Fairtrade Coffee, making sure that the farmers get the bulk of it instead of middlemen.
Yeah. Exactly, that's exactly right. And sometimes these middlemen are not so nice, right?
Right.
Yeah. So there's one interesting component here, which is that you can go to these developing markets, and the crazy thing is you'll find that it's not at all uncommon for folks there to have a smartphone.
Yeah, exactly.
So even though they may not have a firm address, they may not have a firm government identity in terms of a social security number or whatever, they have a phone. And the brilliance of the Plastic Bank model is it's using that fact to drive an entire ecosystem. So the idea is you take your plastic back to the collection point and you get paid in tokens which go onto your phone. Now, these tokens can be redeemed with local service providers. So the Plastic Bank has become basically the largest shop in the world for the poor. And you can use these tokens, for example, to pay for school fees, to pay for heating oil, to pay for light. So you can hire a solar light for the evening. You can pay for micro minutes or minutes on your phone. So there's a whole bundle of services that you can pay for. So we're now getting this virtuous circle of behaviors that are driven by this utility model, whereby we have the behaviors of the retailer, the behaviors of the CPG, the behaviors of the service providers, the behaviors of the recycling entrepreneurs, and the behavior of the plastic bank itself, all pointing in the same direction and all driven by this utility token. So this is, I think, possibly the most innovative and exciting model that I've seen, but it doesn't stop here. Because the beautiful thing about this is you can really turn the collectors into entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs in terms of building out their recycling business, but more interesting, much more interesting, is the behavior of the individual recycling person via their phone can be monitored via the app. So you can start to get a trend of business. Every Monday we get a bag this big, every Tuesday a bag that big, every second week here's a trend for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. You can lend against that.
Exactly.
So you're starting to drive microfinance. So the plastic bank actually is a means of establishing identity for the unbanked, a means of cleaning up the environment, and a means of driving innovative new finance into developing markets. And the beautiful thing is, it's a for-profit model. So the plastic bank is driven by profit, and the local folks who live on the beaches or the rivers have the opportunity to build new businesses. Build new businesses either as recycling entrepreneurs or use that as an entry point into building other tangential businesses. And of course the token can grow. Now, if we look at the rules of the model here,